All right, Dan, thanks for being here. The floor is all yours. You're a co-host, so you should be able to share your screen and see what all is going on at OES.
All right, good morning all. Thanks for having us today. We've been doing these quarterly briefings for I think a few rotations so far. So if there's any feedback on the content or how to make them a little more applicable to the areas group, please let me know. Rob et al. After this, please feel free to share this PDF with the group. I'm just going to hit some high level items for you all today. Let me try to zoom in just a tad without overdoing it. So this first item here in yellow, this operational area emergency operations plan. This is kind of the guiding document that kind of the rules of the road and how everyone gets to play nice in the sandbox with each other when it comes to disasters. So there are 16 functional annexes. We update it every 4 years. Some of the annexes, right? We have, communication, alert and warning, et cetera, in there with a little bit of updates this go around. So when that goes live on to the Board of Supervisors on August 30th, that will be televised, streamed on the internet at the Board of Supervisors meeting. I'm not positive on which agenda item number it is yet. That agenda should be posted generally 72 hours before the meeting. Once they approve that item, because the Unified Disaster Council has approved it on June 16th, we don't anticipate any non-approvals for this item. It's kind of one of those routine every 4 years, it's approved. It'll be posted onto the OES website if you want to look at it then. The next item here, the multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan. This is a 5-year update process, and it will be going to the Unified Disaster Council in October and the Board of Supervisors in February. All of the jurisdictions, the local cities, the incorporated cities, and the unincorporated area of the county have participated in identifying areas in their communities that can have hazard mitigation projects. So when that gets released, please also keep a lookout on there to see if there's any projects that may be impacting, where you work or live. Scroll down just a little bit here to some grants. You may have heard that Cal OES had a high frequency radio program grant back earlier this spring. The county has been awarded $60,000. And this is going before the Board of Supervisors for acceptance this Tuesday, August 16th. So that'll also be streamed. You can access that if you just Google San Diego County Board of Supervisors. You'll be able to see it's agenda item number 1. It's on the consent calendar, which means there will be no discussion unless someone from the public wants to pull it to hear more about it. But we've been awarded the $60K, and what this will accomplish is the equipment installation and training for 3 consoles for the high frequency radio. One will go into the Sheriff Communication Center, one will go into the Emergency Operations Center, and TBD, because there's been some moving parts, but we do have an additional award for the funding to put one into the Medical Operations Center. We're still working with Public Health Preparedness and Response Branch to really identify what that looks like, knowing that they're currently in a leased facility and not a county-owned facility, and that they will be moving from that leased facility within the next 2 years. Training and exercise, this is a biggie here. Groundhog Day next year, we will have a full-scale exercise. There will be 4 sites: the County Emergency Operations Center, City of Poway Emergency Operations Center, Chula Vista Emergency Operations Center, and the City of San Diego Public Utilities Department Operations Center. All 18 cities are going to be playing. We've got 12 water districts and 3 tribes. For those of you that are among other, ham groups, please make sure that you're touching base with your jurisdictions If, for instance, you're on the CERT team for Poway and you're a ham radio operator, there may be play. So I would reach out to your individual jurisdiction to see if there's an opportunity to be a part of that full-scale exercise. Two last things I'll touch on today. Our alert and warning component. So our regional system, Blackboard Connect, is coming to end of life. And we do have a contract that's in negotiations currently with a company called Genesis. They are a local San Diego company. You may have heard of something called LRAD, the long range acoustic devices. That's what they're or what they were most known for. But now they're kind of getting into the alert and warning and evacuation management game. You may have heard of Zonehaven. They also own Zonehaven. So we will have a new system in place and hopefully be training the region on this come next summer. So I would love to give you all a demo of that when it does go live in the next year or so. And the last thing is our Shake Ready SD, right? This is our Shake Alert use on our SD emergency app. It is live, it's in beta. So we can't get out of beta until we do a significant amount of silent testing for timing to make sure that if a hypothetical earthquake above a 4.5 passed the user with a shake intensity of 3, if we want to make sure that that notification can get to them within 10 seconds. So we're going to be doing this testing this September and October. And then from that, if we pass the test, which we don't anticipate we won't, we'll have a full license to operate, which means we will no longer be in beta, but we will have a fully pledged earthquake early warning system here in San Diego. The really cool thing about our app is it uses the statewide sensors, which are actually growing to be kind of all along the West Coast in the continental US. So even if you were traveling outside of San Diego and you had the app installed, let's say in Sacramento or San Francisco, you would still receive that early earthquake warning. That's the final update for today. Again, oh, actually, I'm sorry, one more. In September, we will be testing, we're potentially testing, we're still in talks with our lawyers on the MOU, but with the FCC, the wireless emergency alert test. This will be a live test that goes out to the public. The one thing about WIA tests, though, is you have to opt in. If you have an Android mobile device, it's pretty easy. You just go into your settings and you click the on button for test. If you have an Apple device, it's extremely difficult. I believe you have to download a special app from Apple to opt into this test. We are going to be looking for volunteers. What these volunteers will do is make sure that they're opted in for the test. They will be within the area that we send the alert, and they'll take a survey after to let us know the parameters in which they received or did not receive the test. All the details are TBD. We don't even know what part of town we're going to be pushing this alert in. As of now, our top choice is Ramona. So if you work or play in that area, you may want to pencil in September 12th and 13th on your calendar. However, at this time, we don't have a time of day either. This is all going to be set up by the FCC. We're just one of the players across the nation in this. If you have any questions on anything I said today, your new point of contact for all things communication, alert and warning, and OES is this Shannon Nuzzo at sdcounty.ca.gov right here. But as always, I'm happy to help. I oversee Shannon in our communications programmatic area, as well as a handful of other folks. So if you ever need anything and Shannon's out of town or unavailable, please feel free to always reach out to me. Pending any questions, end of report.
All right, thanks, Dan. Does anybody have any questions for Dan?
Quick question for me, if I could.
Well, go ahead, Rob.
So, Dan, how many people work in the OES office in San Diego?
On the operations side, we are up to about 13. And on the admin finance side, we're up to about 17. So in total, we're just around 30, 31 staff.
That's a big office. Thank you.
All right, and on the HF radios you were talking about, that's part of the shares program for those who know about shares. And I believe the city of Chula Vista and National City also were awarded grants. I know Chula Vista was. I heard National City was. I haven't confirmed that. And I don't know when equipment's coming or when anything else is going, but we'll see how that works.
That was kind of a question that I had. So these are 3 separate radios, or is it, some internet connected or web, console for one radio?
It'll be 3 separate radio installs with 3 separate consoles.
Okay. And these are share radios, intended as shares radios.
That is correct.
Very good. Thank you.
Rob, comment?
Dennis, go ahead.
Maybe not everyone on the call knows what shares is. You might describe that.
Dave, since you talked to Steve Waterman a lot, tell us about shares.
Well, one of the big advantages of shares is they're using HF frequencies that are not in the amateur bands. They can be used by anybody. It can be encrypted, so you can send just about anything you want. And it's basically using WinLink type communications over HF, and it's a little more secure system because they do use automatic locating and automatic connection systems, so everything is tied together, and you get the best path to get where you need to be and get your communications done. So that'll be a big help for the county and for a lot of other things. I see Shannon just popped up here, Dan, so she's going to catch the end of this. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
If I could add, so most shares operators that I'm aware of are also hams, but when you get enrolled in a shares program through a government agency, you get a separate call sign. You're restricted to certain frequencies. The one band which overlaps with ham is, of course, 60 meters, 5 megahertz band, where shares and ham stations can both operate. But separate from that, the shares HF stations use government frequencies. They do not have the power limits of hams. They're not restricted to 1500 amps. They can do much more. They've got a variety of frequency choices. They can talk to military stations and all sorts of other government stations. So it's a, yeah, that link explains a lot about the program, and there's a big push to extend shares licenses down to more people. And we're looking at ways to get more involved with the shares in San Diego County.
It has been something we've been pushing for I don't know, 4 or 5 years now. And unfortunately, the people that had the access to that decided to retire here a few years ago. So it sort of pushed everything out, and sort of laid dormant for quite a while. So we finally got things.
To follow up on Craig's comment on shares, that you don't need a license to operate shares. You do need to be accredited by your sponsoring agency, who does have a responsibility to make sure that you have competency to operate the equipment. So true, you don't have to be a ham, but how did you demonstrate the competency? A lot of the government agents just say, you know, Ham, you're covered.
Well, I appreciate the time, everyone. Real quick, I did notice that my colleague Shannon Nuzzo did hop on the call, so I'm going to let her introduce herself real quick.
Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry for being late to this meeting. I'm coming off of a week of travel and still a little disoriented, so please accept my apologies. My name is Shannon Nuzzo. I work for the County Office of OES, and I'm in communications there. I look forward to joining your guys' group going forward.
All right, thank you, Shannon. Nice to meet you, and I'm sure we'll be in touch down the road. Any additional questions? All right, thank you, Dan and Shannon.
And take it over onto a side repeater where you can take your time making sure that the traffic is passed accurately. That went well. And looking at the all the paperwork that came in, the 213s, the 309s, the 214s, the after action reports were great. So thank you very much for doing that during the exercise and also in the follow-up in the days after the exercise. Some of the challenges we faced, what I call a southern drought of volunteers in the south part of the county. Too many hospitals, not enough volunteers. And so we're going to have to work with Fred and others to try to figure out how can we cover some of the facilities in the southern part of the county. I know in years past we've had people drive from far north to far south in order to cover the facilities down there, and so that's a known challenge, the not having enough volunteers down south. Of course, other challenges everybody faced were the big discussion of whether to operate inside or outside the facility. There's advantages and disadvantages for being inside or outside, communications, being close to the people you're supporting, situational awareness of what's going on. Other challenges, as mentioned, were the COVID protocols varied from hospitals to hospitals and vaccination cards. And maybe next exercise that won't be as much of a problem. We don't know yet, of course. So big shout out and thank you to the 50 volunteers who helped support the exercise. Thank you to all the voice repeater owners who keep their machines on the air and were allowed us to operate with the repeaters on a shared basis. Thank you for the VARA repeater owners that were building out the VARA infrastructure. And so thank you for those people who can get those high-speed machines on the air. WinLink success, of course, falls back on the weekly WinLink training we do. So thank you, Munir, K6AQ, for the weekly WinLink drills that we do. Thank you to the net controls who are working on alternate repeaters and primary repeaters, and the MOC operators who were very, very busy there. Thank you also, a special shout out to the solo operators. Just due to circumstances that changed, Steve K6WP was a solo at Sharp Green, and Bill K1CT ended up being a solo at Sharp Memorial. There's, if you haven't seen it already, there's Bill K1CT, solo operator at his location, put in the corner. I don't know if that was due to bad behavior, that he was over in the corner there, or what, but he was allowed into the EOC to observe, participate, and to communicate. So in the future, we want to spread out some of our experienced volunteers now. I think that after one exercise, a lot of the new Aries people might be capable of being a leader at a hospital. And so we'll look at sliding some people who are good to other locations in order to cover those locations. We want to continue WinLink practice, and there's discussion. We want to do more WinLink peer-to-peer practice, so we're not totally reliant on the gateways. We want to continue to encourage the build out of more VARA FM infrastructure, so we can do hundreds of high-speed traffic on amateur frequencies. The comm plan, we had 15 repeaters on the comm plan. People tend to gravitate to familiar repeaters, which I fully understand. is the shared use of the repeaters. When we ask for repeater use, it is not exclusive use of the repeater. We're asking for shared use. And so sometimes there'd be other people on the repeaters and we'd have to work out with the other operators. There were usually do rag chewing on the repeater at a certain time of day, or didn't know that an exercise was happening. There's some turbulence on the repeaters due to the shared use fact of life. Programming radio memory channels was an issue. I know that we had 15 repeaters and people wanted to program them in, and it took time to get those all those repeater programmed into to radios. The numbered channels seem to work well. Good shorthand. We'll continue to do this in the future. Dennis N1TN's volunteered to help group in the next comp plan into different banks or areas the channels so we can pre-plan and give more people time to program their radios. A curious fact, Palomar, excuse me, the hospital formerly known as Palomar Hospital, now of course is PMC Escondido, had 2 ARRL stations set up inside, which was a wild experience for all of us to have Palomar 1 and Palomar 2 operating up there in Escondido. And that concludes my briefing. And turn screen, and we're back.
All right, thanks, Rob. Just a couple things to add to that. Usually at the MOC, we have probably 4 people, one running WinLink, one sort of as a liaison back and forth from the radio room to whoever to logistics, and then a couple of people on voice on different bands, different frequencies. This year, because of a variety of things, mainly COVID, the MOC could only have 10 people in a room upstairs. So logistics was off-site. I have no idea where they were, and they were coming in over the internet somehow. So any information that we took inside was passed to them, we think, and we never got anything back. So the facilities that were waiting for information back from the MOC, in a lot of cases, we just never got anything back because the logistics people were not there on site. So, which is a little different than usual. The 4 people that were there at the MOC, all first-time operators there, did a fantastic job. So big handout to them. They did a great job for first time doing it and trying to handle all that traffic. So it was very good. John, you got your hand up.
Yeah, just one quick comment. The Palomar hospitals at Escondido and Poway attempted some simplex communications during breaks in the action. And this is something I think maybe we might want to expand during future drills, is just trying to see what we can do in the way of simplex communications between various locations, particularly the hospital groups like Sharp and Scripps, particularly since a lot of information comes out of Sharp corporate that going to the other Sharp locations. It's just something to think about for the future.
All right, thanks, John. Any other questions or comments about the drill this morning?
An overview.
Go ahead,
Briefly.
Bruce.
One of the important aspects of this, we just went through what I consider to be a very brief review of the event, and even including feedback and observations. Think about how much time was involved in mobilizing yourself, group of people that you were with, Think about how much planning time went into this to go out and plan for the disaster and the emergency that we were all simulating for the downtime that required and utilized and leveraged our abilities as radio operators to go out and backfill for various communication outages. Think about this being ad hoc and it actually being a call out or a real event for some reason. The planning part is interesting, you know, as Rob mentioned very graciously, you know, Dave and I are usually involved on the front end of these. You know, I was involved very much throughout the entire actual plan development. And that's great because we have a seat at the table. We can actually influence in a positive way a lot of the dynamics of the event and the drill. And this has grown quite significantly from our early involvement and re-engagement as ARRIs about 10 or so years ago. So super important that we're in that role, in that place with them and working in lockstep to go out and help the county out, be able to help the MOC and the hospital facilities out as well. And it's a pat on the back to everybody out there that's doing the work in the field, is participating in the event locally, is doing net control, is sitting in the background waiting as backup net control just in case. And for all of the folks that are just testing their gear out to make sure that there is something that's real and live as an event, good, bad, or otherwise, that, you know, we have these capabilities. But looping back to where I started, think about how much time we invested getting set up for this. If there's an actual call out real event, things like that will happen. Be prepared. Don't just wait for a drill to be doing these things and periodically checking your gear. Don't be just thinking about looking at the comm plan and maybe programming up that extra radio to have repeaters in it that are listed in the comm plan just in case you need them. Pick some time when you're sitting around in the hot and humid weather we've had for the last couple of weeks, for those that don't have air conditioning, and maybe the next couple of weeks that are coming up. Pick some downtime, put an hour aside, invest some time in getting your gear set up, getting a computer set up, the software, getting your radios programmed, etc. Just think about having that capability and then being able to stage your gear that if you do need to get on the air immediately, you got that capability in your house, in your vehicle, etc. If you're thinking about volunteering in the field, you know, making sure that go kit's ready to go, pick it up, be able to go out and drop it into a vehicle and think about where you might need to go and participate from. So that extra help in advance, being ready to go, super important in the event that it is a real event someday. That's all I've got.
All right, thanks, Bruce. Good comments there. That's for sure. There's definitely a lot of planning that goes into these, and we are very fortunate to be in the position we're in, right, in dealing with the Disaster Council and so on. Any other comments or questions this morning? Dennis?
Yeah, it's funny that we are talking about communications issues, and I wanted to give a shout out to the two gentlemen who moved pretty much last minute from one set of hospitals to the Sharp Chula Vista, and in order to staff the communications, the ARRI's booth at Sharp Chula Vista, they had to work through trying to get a hold of the disaster coordinator there, who was suffering from a telephone outage. Certain telephones could get through to the hospital and certain other telephones could not. I tried over the course of several days to get a hold of someone there, but their hospital phone system wouldn't accept my call. I don't take that personally. But the fellows that were assigned there did workarounds, and they were able to adapt and overcome that issue so that they could properly work down there at Sharp Chula Vista. So I wanted to give a shout out to them. And then, as you pointed out, at Sharp headquarters up here in Kearney Mesa, we had a completely new set of people from the last time around a couple of years ago. And we established a good relationship with them. And in fact, I've been fielding messages from them since the drill, asking about various things that they could use some advice on. So I think that all worked out pretty well.
Good, thanks, Dennis. Anybody else this morning? All right, I don't have anything else. Bruce?
And 6RCZ here.
Yeah, go ahead, Ted.
Good morning, all. I really appreciated the drill. I thought the planning and execution was amazing. I do have one suggestion for ease of finding the appropriate report. Perhaps within the comp plans, both for the drill specifically and also the general Aries comp plan in the WinLink section, perhaps a little screen capture that shows the path to the specific report we are expecting to use. In this case, it's the San Diego County Hospital Status Report, which is, I'm assuming you can still hear me. I switched over to Windows. Were you guys able to hear me there?
Yes.
Okay, so over in Windows, I'm on WinLink. It goes California state or standard template, and then California state forms, SDG, Aries forms, and then the SDG Aries hospital status report. So that would be a good thing to add to all of the comp plans so everyone can find that immediately.
Ted, good idea. We'll do that.
Thank you. And also personal experience challenge was trying to connect a, what do we call those things? The link, the modem thing. Somebody tell me what it's called. I got the wrong name in my head and I don't want to.
Signaling.
Signaling, thank you. I wanted to say another thing. The signaling, trying to attach it to my computer with a USB hub, and that I had not known from the instructions was a problem. It was not staying connected, and so watch out for that. If you, I have to go into USB-C to get into my computer, and a straight USB-A to USB-C works fine, but not through a hub. That was all. Thank you.
Yeah, hubs can cause issues because they're always searching. Anybody else this morning? Bruce, anything else?
No additional follow-up. I think that we'll start seeing a lot more interactive emails, as you might imagine, as we start getting into the month for the air show. And volunteers for that.
Ron, do you have anything else?
No, Dave, is there anything you want to mention about the air show and your conversations with the base staff so far?
I am waiting to hear back from them. I've touched base with them. They know what we're supposed to do, and I told them how we normally run this thing and bring the trailer out and so on. So I'm waiting to hear back from them. He will need a list of people coming on base, driver's license number, and license plate number, so we can make it a little easier to get in, and that way you won't be stopped quite as much at the gate trying to get in. So we'll work on that as time gets a little closer and I get more information from them.
Nobody, please do not send any personal information yet for birth dates or driver's license numbers or anything yet. We'll call for that information when it's time to send.
Yeah, yeah, don't send it out now. We don't need to have all.
Hey, Dave, this is Jim. Hello?
Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering if Rhonda's going to be doing the van thing like we've done in a couple of years past, where we would park out near the entrance, be transported in and out for getting in and out with all the crowds, etc. Are we going to do that same kind of thing?
We're planning on it. You'll still need to get into the PMO parking lot, and that's where they need the information. And then from the PMO parking lot, we'll run somebody's car from there into the trailer, sort of around a back way. At least that's the game plan that's worked the last several years.
Are we still planning on the early morning for setting up the trailer if we get approval to have it there? Be there early, so long before the crowds show up?
I don't know that we need to be there super early, but we'll work on that as we get a little closer.
Thank you.
So Dave, basically for the air show, everything is exactly the same as previous years. And as far as we know, there have been no changes to any plans, correct?
As far as we know, there have not been any changes.
One more quick thing. Also, if we get a chance to hand out the maps like we've done in years past, that really helps when you're out and about walking around to look at that grid map to be able to identify what grid you're in, especially if we have an accident or something happens to be able to identify where our people are and what we need to function.
Yeah, they've changed it. I think the last time we were there, they had just changed it. So when we got there in the morning, we had to make new copies of everything because it was different than the one they had the year before. So we'll have to see what they have this year.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, if there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and we can open up the breakout rooms if you so are inclined.
Yeah, Dave, let's go for breakout rooms, and we'll find out in a moment if everybody can select their own, if we have to vector people in.
All right, there should be a thing there saying the breakout rooms are open.
It's live.
And you should be able to pick yourself. I'm going to go ahead and turn the recording off.